Our story tonight begins in the hush of a monastery's heart. It is deep winter in the year 1324. The sky is pale with frost. The wind slips through narrow stone corridors like a spirit with no name. And inside the cloistered scriptorium of St. Eberhard's Abbey, a single candle flickers on a wooden desk. Its flame barely stirs, just enough to make a gold-trimmed page shimmer, just enough to make your eyes feel heavy. The room is long and low-ceilinged, with timber beams stained by centuries of incense and breath. The windows are narrow, more slits than glass, and the cold is kept at bay only by wool robes, layered silence, and the steady, sacred rhythm of quill on parchment. At one end of the scriptorium, a young monk named Brother Aubrey sits in near stillness. His hands are gloved in soft linen, his fingers smudged with pigment. Before him lies a half-finished manuscript page, its border curled in vines of blue and vermilion. A golden letter waits in the corner, and beside it, the beginnings of something curious. A fox curled asleep among the ivy. But not just any fox. This one has wings. Now, let your breath slow. Inhale gently and exhale with ease, as if you, too, are curled inside the margin of a dream. Because you see, Brother Aubrey paints what he dreams. And more than that, he paints what others dream, too. He doesn't know how it began. Only that, one day, the creatures he inked into the corners of sacred texts began to resemble things no one could name. A rabbit with antlers, a cat with bells for ears, a serpent with a crown of and always asleep, as if waiting to be remembered. The abbey doesn't question it, not aloud. The older monks simply nod and say that dreams are just another form of prayer. And Aubrey, who never speaks more than a few words each day, accepts it too. Each morning, he rises before the bells, cleans his tools with cool water and rosemary ash, and takes his seat beneath the eastern window. He grinds his own pigment, ochre, lapis, verdigris, and lampblack, the powders humming with faint, hidden warmth. And while the other scribes copied texts in Latin and Old French, Aubrey paints the spaces between letters, the margins, the wild edges, where stories can hide. Tonight, as the wind tugs gently at the shutters, Aubrey dips his brush into a thin wash of indigo. He does not plan his painting. He simply listens, not with ears, but with something quieter than thought. A nearby monk stirs in his sleep, 2 desks away. Brother Ever, a gentle soul, who murmurs sometimes as he dreams. Aubrey tilts his head. The air hums, and on the page before him, his hand begins to move. A slow curve, the suggestion of a tail. Then antlers, but soft like moss, and hooves that taper into smoke. He doesn't know the name of the creature, but he knows deep in his ribs that it came from Everard's dream, somewhere between memory and sleep, between silence and psalm. This creature was born, and now it lives in ink. You might be wondering, how does one paint the dreams of others? Aubrey doesn't ask. He simply trusts the stillness. And perhaps, if you close your eyes now and imagine the cool scent of parchment, the soft scratch of quill against skin-thin velvet, you too might feel that presence. The soft tap-tap of a dream, asking to be seen. Outside, the snow has begun to fall. Flakes slide down the narrow glass like sleepy stars. The candle wavers. And for a moment, the winged fox on the page seems to shift. Its eyes open just barely, a flicker of gold in the ink. Then it sleeps again. And so does the room. You are safe here, in the heart of this old, with its stone walls and secret warmth, with its scrolls and soft-spoken monks. You are warm. You are watched over. You are wrapped in vellum and moonlight. Let the hush of the scriptorium cradle you. Let the breath of the candles match your own. You are not alone. Aubrey paints your dreams too. Even now, even here, night in the abbey thickens. Like velvet, the air grows still, as if even the stones are listening. Only the faint rustle of robes, the gentle breath of monks sleeping beyond wooden wall, and the ever-present hum of quiet thought keeps the silence company. Brother Aubrey leans closer to his work. The candle beside him burns low, its light golden, soft as butter melting in a dish. On the page, another margin complete. A serpent curled around a rose, not a fearsome serpent but a slender, sleepy thing. Its eyes half closed, its tongue flickering, not in menace, but in song. Where did this dream come from? Perhaps it was his own, or perhaps it drifted through the wall, from the novice chamber where young brother Simon sleeps, always clutching his blanket like a knight's banner. Aubrey doesn't know, but the creature arrived with the smell of lavender and honeyed milk. So perhaps it came from a peaceful dream indeed. In the scriptorium, everything breathes slowly. The fire in the corner hearth whispers over half-burned oak. The air is laced with beeswax, old ink, and warm wool. Now, dear listener, if you feel your own breath slow to match this room, that's no accident. The rhythm of the scriptorium invites you to soften, to still, to listen in ways you've forgotten how. Like the monks do, Aubrey pauses, sets down his brush. He stretches his fingers beneath the folds of his robe, loosening the ache that comes from hours of fine lines and careful loops. Outside the window, the wind stirs a bell. It knocks softly, not loud enough to ring, just enough to make a little click, like knuckles on a wooden table. Aubrey closes his eyes. In the dark, behind his lids, shapes begin to swirl. A deer with silver feathers, a dog with a lantern for a tail, a mouse holding a quill larger than itself. He breathes out, and the mouse disappears. Only the deer remains. Yes, it's the next one. He dips his quill into a mixture of iron gall and crushed poppy petal. A strange color, faintly violet, not quite real, just right for a dream. The deer takes shape in the bottom margin of a prayer to Saint Bega. Its legs folded beneath it, its wings curl gently forward like a cloak. He paints tiny, careful dots of moonlight along its back. They shimmer with the wetness of fresh ink. Then his favorite part. He adds the eyes, a single drop of brown-black delicately placed, and the creature seems to breathe. Its eyes are kind, wise, as though it's lived in hundreds of dreams before this one. And perhaps it has. Some say medieval monks feared the creatures they dreamed, that demons could enter the mind in sleep, that visions meant temptation. But not here. Not in Aubrey's Abbey. Here, they are welcome guests, visitors from a softer world, gifts from the hush. You may see one now, if you look with the right kind of vision, not through the eyes, but through the space between thoughts. Do you feel that soft stir behind your breath? That little warmth in your chest? That's your dream animal, not yet painted, but already waiting. The hours pass like gentle tides. The Abbey sleeps, and dreams ripple through its corridors, carried in the bones of stone walls, whispered through keyholes, tucked in the curls of candle smoke. Aubrey does not speak, but in every curved tail, every golden hoof, his voice is heard. Tonight, he paints a lion, with vines growing in its mane, then a beetle, with stars on its back, climbing toward the edge of a hymn. One by one, they gather in the margins, silent witnesses, tender guardians. You are among them. Even now, your dream self may be watching from the curl of a parchment leaf. And now, breathe in slowly, and out even more slowly, as if releasing an inked breath from the page of your own story. The scriptorium dims. The candle sigh. The bell will not ring for hours yet. There is only this moment, soft and still, held between the quill's whisper and the waiting dream. The candle's flame flutters just a little, not from wind, but as though stirred by something unseen. A breath, perhaps, a sigh from a creature made of ink and wonder. Brother Aubrey watches it, his eyes quiet, thoughtful, like someone who listens to clouds. All around him the Abbey slumbers, and though his hand keeps working, his heart has already slipped into the dream world he paints. Tonight, he does not feel tired. Instead, there is a calm flow inside him, like warm honey poured slowly into a bowl, like a tide returning gently to shore. The kind of stillness that comes, not from rest, but from purpose, woven gently through each flick of the brush. On his desk, a new page waits. It is thick vellum, smooth as pressed petals, slightly curved from the stretching and drying of The text has been written already, Psalm 121, scribed in dark brown ink with wide, sloping strokes. Aubrey does not read the words. He doesn't need to. He knows this psalm by heart. I lift up mine eyes unto the hills. The first words rise softly through his memory, like smoke from a distant chimney. And in the margin of those words, he begins to paint hills of his own. Not real hills, no. Something quieter than real. Gentle mounds of moss and mist. A path winding upward. And at the top, a sleeping creature. It is a hare, but not ordinary. Its ears are long and ribboned with gold. Its paws are tucked neatly beneath it, and on its back, tiny bells. Not loud bells. Not meant to ring. Just there. Soft and still. The way a lullaby hums beneath a mother's breath. He dips into a warm copper ink, a mixture of ground cinnabar and linseed oil. The smell is faintly spicy, like dried orange peel and old stone. Carefully, he outlines the hare's shape, then fills the space around it with curling vines. Each leaf, a little breath. Each petal, a pause. Outside, the sky turns darker still. No stars tonight, only clouds, like wool stretching across the heavens. The kind of sky that makes a person feel wrapped in something enormous. Safe, enclosed. Held, Aubrey leans back in his chair. The fire in the hearth gives a gentle pop. A coal shifts, then settles. He closes his eyes for just a moment. In that space between waking and dreaming, images begin to gather. Not from him, but from somewhere else. A child's giggle. A woman's prayer whispered into her sleeve. A soft snore from Brother Clement down the hall. Each dream arrives like a ripple in a shallow bowl. Aubrey smiles without moving. His hand knows what to do. He picks up a fine-tipped brush made of squirrel hair, his most delicate tool, and he paints a bird. No bigger than a thimble. It rests on the shoulder of a capital letter B, nestled into the curve as if it had flown there in sleep. Its feathers are a blend of dusky rose and velvet gray. Its eyes closed. A tiny crown rests gently on its head. A king of dreams. No kingdom, just peace. Now, my dear listener, breathe in again, slowly, through your nose. Let the air fill you gently, not too much. And exhale, as if blowing softly across warm ink, waiting for it to dry. Let yourself feel the warmth of the scriptorium. The hush is important. It is the language of this place. Even the silence here is sacred. You are safe. You are warm. You are held in the margins of a painted page. The candle dances. Its soft flame stretches tall, then bows low. A slow, flickering greeting to the quiet world beyond the page. Brother Aubrey tilts his head. Hears something in the stillness. Not a sound exactly, more a feeling, like the hush before snowfall. He sets down his brush. For a moment, he simply watches the candle. Its light blurs slightly in his tired eyes. Wax pools along its side, slow and golden, like honey warming under the sun. Across the desk lies his most recent creation, a dragon, small and slender, coiled around a single word. Deliver. But the dragon doesn't threaten. No smoke, no fire, no fang. Instead, it sleeps, its tiny claws tucked beneath its chin, its wings folded gently around its back, a pearl balanced on the tip of its tail, glowing faintly with specks of silver. Aubrey sighs, deeply, softly. He dips his finger into a bowl of lavender water and gently dabs the page's edge, sealing the image with a single breath. Outside, the night deepens. The abbey walls thick and cool. Keep out the chill. but still, it brushes at the windows. A soft tapping, like a dream asking to come inside. Brother Aubrey rises. His joints creak gently, not painfully, just the kind of sound that says, I have been still a long while, and the world is calling me to stretch. He moves to the window. The sky has cleared, and in its vastness, stars glimmer softly. Each one, a tiny lantern, dangling over the sleepy Finlands. He opens the latch. A breath of night air spills in. Cool, sweet, edged with earth and distant hay. And just for a moment, the candle's flame wavers, leans sideways, then steadies again. Aubrey smiles. Outside, an owl glides past, silent as a whisper. Its wings wide and pale against the darker sky. Somewhere beyond, a nightjar calls. 3 soft notes, like water dripping in a cave. He closes the window again. The silence returns, but now it feels deeper, as if the stars themselves are listening. Back at his desk, Aubrey draws out a fresh sheet of vellum. This one is older. He recognizes the texture. A page left blank months ago, meant for a passage that never arrived. It has waited patiently all this time. He touches it with reverence, as if greeting an old friend. And then he begins again. This time, the figure is different. No creature from lore, no fox with stars, no turtle with a crown. Instead, a girl, eyes closed, hair like spun ink cascading down her shoulders. She stands on a tiny hill painted just above a line of sacred text, her hands cupped gently around a flame. Not a fire, a glow, a light small enough to hold, bright enough to be remembered. A dream passed from hand to hand, generation to generation. Perhaps she is real. Perhaps Aubrey met her once, in the brief flash of a dream before dawn. Perhaps she's no one. Or perhaps she's the spirit of every story waiting to be told. He paints her robes with a blend of blue and gold, soft colors that melt into each other like breath on glass. Around her, he draws leaves falling. Not many, just enough to say, time is passing. But slowly, there is still peace to be found. As you listen now, you may begin to feel a lightness in your limbs, a sense that time is melting, like wax, gently, slowly, without force. Let yourself drift. You're not meant to do anything here. Just be. Be like the girl in the painting. Quiet, present, glowing softly from within. The quill moves again. Tiny birds, a single pine cone, a curled cat near the corner of the page. Each one born from silence. Each one a lullaby in paint. And still, the abbey dreams. Outside, the moon watches. Inside, ink flows like a soft river. Not loud, not hurried. Just the steady rhythm of a scribe painting dreams. The girl in the margin is complete now. Her flame glows quietly between her hands. No wind disturbs it. No shadow falls too near. She simply stands, still and kind, as though holding a dream that belongs to someone else. A dream they've forgotten, but which she has kept safe. Aubrey lowers his brush. There's a stillness in the scriptorium now. A fullness, like a cup that has just been filled and needs time before the first sip. He leans back, the wood of the chair creaking softly beneath his robes. Above him, the rafters hum with a settled warmth of stone and night. His hands rest in his lap. The scent of ink and old vellum hangs like a veil in the air. Not unpleasant, no, never. To him, it is the scent of meaning, of intention. Some monks seek God in chant, others in silence. Aubrey finds him in color, in curves of pigment, in the quiet joy of giving a forgotten page its soul. He stands slowly and walks to a shelf along the far wall. Here lie old volumes, some unfinished, some complete, each wrapped in linen and tied with gentle cords. One manuscript, in particular, calls to him. Its spine is worn, soft with years of touch, Aubrey opens it carefully, revealing a page he illuminated long ago, a garden filled with strange, imaginary plants. Each flower bends in an impossible direction. Each leaf curls like a question. But at the center, a stone bench, and on that bench, a fox asleep, its tail wrapped around a glowing orb. Aubrey had painted that orb from a dream. He remembered waking with the image fresh and burning behind his eyes. No words, just a feeling. Peace. Warmth. Something held close. He closes the manuscript again, gently, like returning a child to slumber. Then turns back toward his desk. The candle has almost reached its end. Its wax has puddled low, curling around its base, like a golden ribbon. Aubrey picks up a new candle, presses the end into the warm wax, and lights it with the old flame. The fire flickers up, steady now, golden and calm. Nothing has ended, only continued, as it always does. He returns to the blank sheet before him. The next page will hold a prayer to Saint Columba, and in its margin, he decides to paint a sea, not a real sea, a sea of silence. He begins with pale blue pigment, ground from azurite, mixed with egg yolk and wine. A strange recipe, but one he's perfected over years. The brush glides gently, spilling long, curving waves that ripple without crashing. No foam, no tide, just a suggestion of movement. Like sleep, turning over beneath a blanket. Within the waves, he places tiny boats, each only the size of a fingernail. Some carry cloaked figures, some carry flowers. One holds a cat curled beside a candle. Each boat drifts without destination. That is the nature of this sea. It is not meant to carry one away, but to hold them gently, quietly, until they are ready to float back. And as you listen now, your breath may begin to mimic that soft tide, in and out, longer now, quieter. The sea in your own body stirs gently beneath your ribs. No need to sail it tonight. Just float, just be. The sea is complete. Aubrey leans in and adds one final detail. A fish with feathered wings, sleeping just beneath the surface. Its eye, a perfect dot of gold, a secret. A small promise that something magical sleeps beneath every quiet moment. The bell in the far corridor chimes once. Only once. It's not a call to prayer, just a wind. Or, perhaps, a dream passing by. Aubrey smiles, then dips his brush once more. The next image is already waiting. The sea of silence lies still in the margin. Its boats drift slowly, the moonlight painted in pale silver arcs across the soft waves. Brother Arbor lifts his brush again, but before beginning the next image, he pauses, not out of hesitation, but reverence. Some pages ask to be listened to first, so he listens. To the creak of the beams above, to the slow pop of cooling wax, to the whisper of the wind curling around ancient stone. And in that quiet a memory arrives. He was a boy no more than 7, not yet a monk, not even dreaming of the robes he'd someday wear. He'd wandered into the scriptorium one afternoon, drawn by the smell of ink and oil, by the promise of pages. An older monk had been working there. Brother Matthias, gentle, slow, nearly blind. He had motioned to Aubrey, beckoning him forward with a quill-stained finger. "Do you know what this is?" the monk had asked, gesturing toward a half-finished illumination. The page had shown a great wheel, gold-rimmed, filled with vines and little creatures in the spokes. Young Aubrey had shaken his head. "It's the Wheel of Fortune," Brother Matthias had said. "Not the kind with coins. The kind that turns in the soul." Now, years later, Aubrey paints a wheel of his own. Not fortune, not fate. A wheel of dreams. In its center, a sleeping boy, his hands folded beneath his cheek. Around him, snippets of lives. A woman kneeling beside a hearth. A knight weeping into his gauntlets. A dog curled in the sun. Each one turning gently, slowly, as though lulled by time itself. The wheel's spokes are branches, twisting and blooming with tiny blue petals, delicate as breath on a window pane. The candle flickers again. Its flame stretches then back, as though acknowledging something unseen watching from the corner of the room. Aubrey glances toward the shelves. The manuscripts seem to lean closer, listening to the silence. There's a peace in the scriptorium now, the kind that cannot be summoned, only noticed. He lowers his brush, closes his eyes, listens again. The wind has changed. It's carrying something new, perhaps a story whispered in a dream nearby, perhaps the heartbeat of the abbey itself, low and slow, drumming beneath stone and moss. Aubrey opens his eyes, and in a motion so smooth it feels remembered. He begins the next margin. This one will hold a tree, but not an ordinary tree. The trunk is wide, knotted with age and wonder. Its bark is textured with gold ink, each line pressed gently with the edge of a feather. Its leaves glow faintly, not green, but soft blue and lavender, like the sky before dawn, and nestled among its roots. Tiny doors, little archways carved into the base, each with a symbol above it. A star, a spoon, a feather, a teardrop, each one leading somewhere secret, somewhere quiet. He adds a cat, sleeping at the tree's base, its fur shaded in warm ochre, its tail curled like a question mark. Then, above, in the branches a nest, but instead of eggs, tiny scrolls, wrapped in ribbon, tied with care. Messages not yet read, perhaps never to be read, but they're safe, waiting. As you listen now, you may begin to feel that tree in your own body, your spine, the trunk strong and steady, your breath, the leaf soft and swaying, and your heart, a door, gently closed, gently glowing. You are a part of the dream now, not just hearing it, dwelling in it. Let yourself rest within its branches. There is nothing you need to do. You are enough, just as you are. Brother Aubrey sits very still. His brush rests against the rim of the ink pot, its tip stained with the color of twilight. Before him, the tree in the margin stands quietly complete. Its glowing leaves shimmer faintly in the candlelight, and the little scrolls in the nest, they seem to sigh with stories. He leans back in his chair, slowly, carefully, so as not to disturb the hush that now blankets the scriptorium. The abbey beyond is soundless. Stone corridors stretch through the night, vaulted ceilings rising like sleeping giants overhead. Tapestries shift just slightly in the breeze. The softest rustle, like linen exhaling, far away. In the cloisters, a drip of water echoes. Drip, as if time itself is slowly being counted. Not by clocks, but by patience. Aubrey stands and walks through the little alcove where dried herbs hang, sprigs of rosemary, bay, and angelica. The monk who gathers them believes they carry dreams. That scent and sleep are intertwined. Aubrey doesn't know if that's true, but he finds the smell calming. He crushes a sprig gently between his fingers and breathes it in. The warmth of sun-soaked leaves, the memory of earth. He tucks the sprig near the window, where the breeze might carry it to those resting nearby. When he returns to his desk, he selects a new page. This one will be simple. A short blessing, just a few lines of Latin. Nothing grand. But the margin will hold something sacred. Not elaborate, not rich, just still. He paints a circle. Within it, a bench beneath a single tree. On the bench, two figures, cloaked and facing one another. One is old, with silver hair tucked beneath a hood. The other, young, bare feet tucked beneath them, hands in their lap. They are speaking, not loudly, not even with words, but you can tell, by the curve of their posture, that something meaningful is being shared. A story, perhaps, or maybe just presence. He shades the tree above them with soft strokes of muted green. Not a grand oak or weeping willow, just a gentle tree, like those found in the monastery gardens. Strong, unpretentious, steadfast. Then he adds falling leaves. Only 3, each one mid-air, drifting slowly toward the ground. Time, frozen in its soft descent. And just beneath the image, in tiny, nearly invisible script, he writes a phrase, Qui sedet, audit, etiam sen. He who sits, listens even without words. Brother Aubrey knows. Few will notice it, fewer still will read it. But that's not why he adds it. He adds it for the silence, for the pause between pages, for the sleeper whose dream brings him here, wandering along the edge of memory. He adds it for you. And now, dear listener, you too may begin to feel that pause within you, that quiet bench beneath a tree. Somewhere in your mind, there is someone sitting there beside you. They don't speak. They don't need to. You simply sit together, watching the leaves fall, breathing as one. No need to name them. No need to explain. They are simply there. And you are deeply, deeply at peace. Outside, the stars are steady, high above the abbey. They blink slowly. Not cold, not distant, but calm and watching. Brother Aubrey steps briefly onto the cloister walk. The flagstones are cool beneath his sandals, the air touched with a faint scent of night blossoms. A single candle in a rusted iron lantern lights the corridor. Its flicker paints soft gold across the stone walls, while moths flutter gently nearby. Quiet dancers in the silence. He walks slowly, hands folded, not in prayer, but in stillness. The kind of stillness that grows only in places where time has slowed for centuries. He pauses at the old fountain, its basin rimmed in moss and moonlight. Water spills gently from the mouth of a stone lion, dripping into the pool below with the sound of an endless lullaby. Drip, drip. He sits there for a while, just listening. Sometimes stories come here, not written ones, but ones that drift. You can almost hear them, soft as breath, hiding in the echoes. Aubrey imagines them gathering here. Sleepy tales, too shy to be told in the day, tales whispered by the wind, or left behind by someone who forgot their dream when they woke. When he returns to the script, his brush is waiting. So is the page. Tonight, the next image will be smaller, a detail near the bottom of a prayer for safe journeys. So he paints a lantern, just a little one. It hangs from a hook, casting a glow no wider than a fingertip. But inside, he paints a tiny flame in gold ink, a warm spark, a symbol of guidance, a star for those walking paths they cannot see. He adds a mouse nearby, its paws curled, its eyes closed. It sleeps beside the lantern, trusting the light to keep watch. Above it, Aubrey draws small footprints in the dust. Some lead forward, some loop around, none are wrong. Then, in the opposite corner of the page, he paints a feather, floating gently, suspended, not fallen, just resting in the air. Its barbs are painted with a single bristle, the smallest brush he owns, barely visible unless the candle is held just right. This feather is not from any bird he's seen. It curves in a way feather shouldn't. But in the margins, anything is possible. And now, dear dreamer, you may begin to feel that feather, too, floating near your thoughts. Soft, weightless, not trying to land, just drifting. With you there is nothing to chase, nothing to carry, just a hush of the page and the quiet glow of a painted lantern. Let your breath drift now. Like that feather, let it move, without effort, without instruction. You are not lost. You are not late. You are exactly where you are meant to be. In the margin of a story painted just for rest. Brother Aubrey closes his eyes for a moment, just a moment, and the world slows. He can still hear the gentle crack of the scriptorium's beams, the distant owls calling through open slits in the stone, the rhythmic flutter of his own robe, like wings folding at dusk. But it all becomes quieter now, like it's moving further away. Not gone, just soft, as if the whole abbey has inhaled, and is holding its breath in reverence. When he opens his eyes again, the candle beside him has almost reached its base. Melted wax has formed a quiet pool, shaped like a crescent moon. He smiles. It's a sign. He thinks, time for one final image before sleep. Not a grand final scene. Not a miracle or a martyr. Just something tender. Something like a promise. He smooths the vellum with the side of his palm, pressing it gently with the heat of his hand. And then, with the lightest touch of his brush, he begins to paint a door. It is a narrow door, arched, weathered, its surface covered in fine carvings. No hinges are visible. No handle, just ivy growing along its edge, and above it, a single star. The door stands not in a wall, but in the middle of an open meadow. Behind it, just sky. He doesn't explain it. He simply paints beside the door. He adds a single figure. A child, perhaps. Or a very old man. It's hard to tell. The figure wears a long cloak, hood pulled just far enough over their face to leave it to the imagination. They stand with one hand lifted, not knocking, not pushing, just almost as if waiting for the dream to finish opening it. And now, just beneath the door, Aubrey paints grass, little tufts of it, each one bent in a slightly different way, as though moved by a breeze only the page can feel. Tiny flowers poke through stars of white, specks of pink. Not many, just enough, just enough. He leans back in his chair again. The candle crackles one last time, outside the window. A low, gentle mist has begun to rise over the monastery gardens. The silhouettes of trees blur into one another, and the world looks painted, as though someone has brushed the edges with pale milk. It is a moment made entirely of softness. Aubrey folds his hands over his lap and lets the story settle around him. Not just the one on the page, but the one in the air, in the walls, in the warmth of wax and wood and ink. He does not need to finish the story, because here, in this sacred stillness, the story finishes itself. It always does. And you, quiet listener, drifting dreamer, you may begin to feel that door now, too, in the far corner of your own mind. A quiet space, a little overgrown, a little golden. You are standing in front of it, and you don't need to go through. You can simply stand there, wrapped in the hush, bathed in moonlight, held. Let your breath slow even more. Let your eyelids soften like silk. Let your mind rest on the doorknob without needing to turn it. You are here, and here is more than enough. Brother Aubrey remained still, his brush resting now in a shallow dish of water, its bristles softening slowly, like petals in rain. All around him, the scriptorium sighs, not with breath, but with time. The ancient timbers above creak softly. The stones beneath the floor hum with the memory of centuries. Even the shadows seem to lean toward sleep. He folds a piece of cloth, worn and soft from years of wiping ink-stained hands, and gently blots the corner of the page. The vellum accepts it without resistance, without complaint. It's a quiet ritual. This moment of drying, of stilling the last motion. He lifts the finished folio, cradling it between his palms, and places it on the wide oak shelf behind him, a resting place for work that asks nothing more of the night. In the far corner of the scriptorium, the hourglass is nearly empty. Sand whispers in its long descent, grain by grain. Time, it seems, is drowsy too. Aubrey moves to the hearth now, where the fire has died to a slow glow. Embers shift under soft ash. He places a small piece of split birch atop the coals, then waits not for flame, but for the perfume of its bark to rise. The smoke is pale and delicate. It curls upward with the grace of incense, tracing invisible circles in the air. He closes his eyes again and breathes. In his mind, the scriptorium changes. It's no longer a room of wood and stone, but of memory and stillness. The windows stretch wider, opening onto silver fields of fog. The shelves dissolve into hedgerows, the desks into moss-covered stumps. Even the ink becomes water, reflective, weightless, and in the center of it all, his manuscripts float like lilies on a pond. Each one holds a different image, a different dream. The fox curled in the margin of the psalter, the lantern with the sleeping mouse, the feather suspended in time, the door in the field, quietly ajar. They are not illustrations. They are invitations. You are invited to drift among them, to wander where the brush is gone, to turn the pages slowly, as if they were made of breath. And as you do, you might notice something beautiful. The dreams painted into the margins, they do not end. They trail gently into one another. A feather becomes a wing becomes a path leads to a quiet forest, where another bench waits, beneath another tree. In this place, there is no hurry, no beginning, no ending, just the endless unfolding of soft moments, and you a quiet figure walking among them, held in the hush of ink and moonlight. So let your thoughts grow lighter now. Let them float like vellum beneath the stars. The scribe is resting, the page is still, and you, dear dreamer, are exactly where you need to be, between lines of peace, in the margin of a story that was always meant for sleep. Somewhere in the abbey, a bell gives a half-hearted toll, not loud, just one soft note, as if it too is weary from watching the stars. Brother Aubrey stands beside the window again. The night is deepened, the kind of quiet that presses softly against the bones, a deeper silence than evening's hush. This is the hush of the world, for just a little while, has nothing to ask of him. He presses his palm against the cold stone of the window ledge, ground smooth by time, and watches the low mist curl like smoke through the grass below. No wind tonight. The trees stand still. Even the moon has hidden behind a quilt of slow-moving cloud. And yet, something in the air feels alive, as if unseen thoughts are drifting past, looking for minds to land in. He returns to his desk. A fresh sheet waits, patient, like snow, before the first step. This page will not hold a psalm, or a blessing, or even a verse. It will hold only an image. One not for scripture or chant, but for wonder. He begins with a circle, wide, soft-edged, painted with milk-white ink. It takes shape slowly, turning into a moon. Not the moon outside the abbey, but another, one that only rises in the dreams of those who have truly listened. He shades it with pale violet and silver, gives it a soft aura like breath fogging a mirror. Then, inside that moon, he paints a bed, tiny, made of clouds, suspended in mid. Upon the bed, a figure rests. The face is not clear, not because he cannot paint it, but because the dreamer has not yet arrived. Aubrey knows some pages wait for their sleepers. They are doors drawn but not yet opened, rooms without footsteps. So he paints the shape, but leaves the features empty, soft and open, inviting. He surrounds the bed with tiny objects, each one no larger than the tip of his finger. A pair of slippers with wings, a lantern filled with stardust, a cup of warm milk that glows faintly at the rim. Each item is placed as if by habit, as if the dreamer uses them each night before resting in this painted bed. This is no ordinary dream. It is a return to a place you forgot you knew. And now you may begin to feel that place within yourself, dear listener. Not a memory, not imagination, but a space. A room without walls, lit by a moon that only you can see. A bed that waits just for you. Soft, warm, cradled in silence. You do not need to reach for it. It is already here. You are already lying in it. Let your limbs relax, like ink settling in still water. Let your breath widen, like the sky drawn across a page of sleep. Nothing is expected of you. You are the dream that the scribe was always painting. The painted dream bed glows softly on the page, held in a circle of moonlight and stardust. Brother Aubrey leans closer, not to add anything, but to admire the silence he's just created. It hums beneath his fingertips, a quiet, reverent hum, like the echo of a bell rung far away. He lifts his quill again, but only to add a single, final shape in the margin. A bird, small, sleeping. Its wings tucked so closely around its body, they look like leaves folded in prayer. He shades the bird in soft gray, and then, in the curve of its wing, he hides a single golden line, a tiny streak of dawn. Not enough to wake the creature, just enough to remind the viewer. Morning always returns. Even to dreams. Aubrey rinses his brush with a few drops of lavender water, and the scent rises into the air. Sweet, herbaceous, familiar. It mixes with the subtle warmth of the guttering fire, and something about the blend feels like an old song hummed without words. He doesn't need to paint anymore tonight. The page is complete, but the feeling lingers that he is still part of something larger, that the dream he paints has slowly begun painting him. He steps outside the scriptorium once more. Through the small wooden door near the apothecary wall, it creaks faintly, not in protest, more like a greeting. Outside, the cloister garden lies in perfect stillness. Even the fountain seems to have paused its murmuring. Mist curls low to the ground, gathering in the corners of stone paths like wool forgotten by shepherds. He walks the path slowly, his sandals brushing against loose gravel and old petals. And as he walks, he notices things he didn't before. A snail gliding silently across a flat tile, a moth resting against the curve of a marble column, a single droplet of dew clinging to the underside of a leaf, trembling like it's dreaming. Even the garden dreams, he thinks, and so he follows its rhythm, its breathless, unhurried peace, past the rosemary beds, past the stone bench, where the herbarium brother sometimes naps, to the small sundial at the very center. Here, the world holds its breath. The stars above seem to gather closer, not bright, but vast, patient. They do not flicker now. They simply glow, as if watching, as if remembering. He places his hand on the sundial's edge, cool and smooth by centuries. And for a moment, he simply stands there, feeling time pass, without a sound. There is no need to mark it, no need to measure. In this hour, the one just before dawn, the whole world belongs to dreams. And you, listener, you are there, too, in this garden, in this hush, not as an observer, but as a part of it. Perhaps you are the moth, resting gently in the folds of a warm sleeve, or the drop of dew, suspended in perfect stillness. Or perhaps you are simply the silence itself. Let yourself rest there. Let your thoughts curl into smaller, quieter shapes. Let them become images without need for names. A bench beneath ivy, a lantern glowing softly, a margin filled with sleeping birds and closed doors. You are safe. You are dreamed. You are loved. Brother Aubrey walks back to the scriptorium, his steps barely brushing the flagstone. He carries the silence with him now. Not as a burden, but as a friend. He does not light a fresh candle. The room glows just enough with the silver spill of starlight, reaching in through the narrow, high window. Ink pots glint faintly. The gold leaf sheets whisper in their linen wrappings. The manuscripts rest like sleeping animals, pages curled just so, ready to breathe again with morning light. He sits, and he listens. He does not dip his brush. He does not reach for the quill. He simply sits, surrounded by the quiet company of pages and shadows. The desk feels warm beneath his arms. The parchment before him, untouched, seems to hum with soft, unseen words. He doesn't need to write them. They are already there, tucked inside the paper fibers, waiting for sleep to coax them out. And now, you may picture that same page in your own mind, blank, but not empty, a space made just for you. Nothing to fill, nothing to fix, just space, a breath for your thoughts, a rest for your heart. Let yourself drift closer to that page. Maybe lay your head beside it. Maybe listen. Aubrey's eyes grow heavy. He rests his chin against his palm, still watching the glow of ink dreams he finished hours before. And in that drowsy blur, he begins to see them shift, not in the way of ink bleeding, but as though the drawings themselves are stirring. The sleeping fox stretches. The lantern flickers a little brighter. The feather begins to drift again, not from a breeze, but from time moving on. Even the little mouse in the margin curls deeper into its imagined sleep. The scriptorium is dreaming now, too, and so is Aubrey, though he hasn't laid down. Though his eyes are still half open, his mind has unhooked its tether and begun to float. And now, listener, you float with him. You drift among the margins. You walk along the painted paths. You peek through tiny doorways drawn into the edges of sacred scrolls. You are the size of a thumbprint and the weight of a whisper. You do not disturb the ink. You do not bend the parchment. You simply exist, softly the way dew exists, the way dusk arrives. In the next page, you find a tiny staircase, curved, delicate, barely a few steps high. You climb it slowly, feeling each step beneath your thoughts. At the top, a rooftop of gold leaf awaits, shimmering but gentle, like a warm thought caught in candlelight. You sit there, above the story, within the story, beyond the story, wrapped in its warmth. Let your breath rise and fall, now with that soft, gold shimmer. Let the world below you become quiet and kind. You don't need to hold anything or remember anything. You can simply be the pause between two painted stars. In the dream, the scriptorium stretches further than it ever could by day. The shelves seem to go on forever, lined with scrolls and volumes whose titles shift gently, like reflections in water. Aubrey wanders. It's 3 miles, barefoot. He hears no echo of his steps, only the soft, rhythmic whisper of page turning after page somewhere, just out of sight. He isn't searching for anything. He's simply following the warmth. Above him, a painted ceiling emerges. Not one he remembers from waking life, but one perhaps drawn long ago in sleep. Intricate stars, curling vines, and golden birds with feathers shaped like prayers. They drift slowly across the vault, not flying exactly, but gliding, as if the ceiling were made of water, not stone. He stops beneath a particular archway. The air is warmer here. There is a glow, not from candle or fire, but something quieter. A book lies open on a pedestal, not bound in leather, not stitched in vellum. This one is woven from dreams, pages thin as spider thread, each one humming softly as if a lullaby were folded into its weave. He leans in. No words, only images, tiny ones, moving slowly, alive in their own time. He sees a bake quietly shaping bread in the first blue hour of morning, a sheepdog curled beside a shepherd's cloak, dreaming of open hills, a girl with ink on her fingers, carefully copying a poem onto a wax tablet. Each image settles into his mind like petals floating to the bottom of a still pond. He turns the page. Another dream awaits, and another, and another. None are loud. None are urgent. Just soft moments, glowing like fireflies that never flicker out. You, too, may find one of those pages now. Let your breath slow as your eyes drift over its surface. Perhaps you see a gentle stream, with lanterns floating one by one down its path, or a tower room where someone is playing a lute, its notes winding out into the moonlight like silk. Or maybe you find a blank page, and that's where your own dream begins. You don't need to fill it, dear listener. You don't need to shape it. The dream knows what to do. It arrives on its own, as all true dreams do. Let it come. Let it wrap around you like a shawl drawn up to your shoulders. Let it lull you, hold you, quiet. Aubrey closes the dream book in his arms. Not to end it, but to let it rest. Some dreams are best kept between the pages, not lost, not explained, just preserved. He carries the book to a small nook in the wall, just large enough for this single volume. He places it gently on a pillow of moss and cloth, and closes the wooden door with both hands. A latch clicks into place, and even the dream lets out a long, quiet sigh. The dream chapel has no walls, now only arches, rising gently into a sky woven with stars. Each star, a fleck of gold, like those he uses in the margins, set deep into midnight blue. Brother Aubrey steps beyond the scriptorium's old stone limits and finds himself in a cloister garden that breathes as if it, too, has fallen asleep. Petals close, ferns curl, a fountain murmurs faintly, not as water falling, but as thoughts settling. He kneels beside a small pool, clear still. When he peers in, he does not see his face. Instead, he sees ink blooming softly in water, like a story being told without words. A fox trots slowly through a forest of lavender and thyme. A monk rests beneath an apple tree, with pages fluttering like wings around him. A lantern floats down a river, where fireflies rise from the reeds in golden spirals. Each image lasts only a breath, but stays forever in the space behind the eyes. Aubrey closes his own eyes. And now, you can too. There is nothing more to see right now, only the knowing that the dreams are still blooming, even in the dark. Let your breath match theirs. Slow, delicate, gentle as ink, settling into a page. Behind him, the dream scriptorium sighs again, not from age, but from memory. Its shelves stretch wider still, no longer bound by walls or ceilings. Now, they reach into the hearts of dreamers, each shelf filled not with finished volumes, but with moments you might recognize. A feather caught in your hair, a song you forgot until now, the smell of bread on a rainy morning, all tucked carefully into the margins. Aubrey walks those aisles now. His fingers trail along spines of dream leather and velvet bound quiet. He hums softly, not a tune, just a gentle vibration, like the body remembering peace. And around him, the books hum too. Soft harmony, low as a cat's purg, high as a candle flame's flicker. They do not need to be read, only held. You may take one, if you like, not to open now, but to keep with you. In your quiet, feel its gentle weight. Let it warm your hands. The dreams inside will know when to open. You need only rest. And as you do, know this. You are part of this scriptorium now, part of its hush, its story, its pages filled with peace. You have been painted with the same care, the same quill, the same love. You are a margin dreamer, and you are safe. Brother Aubrey sits again at his desk. The real one, perhaps, or perhaps still the dreaming one. But it doesn't matter. In this moment, they are one and the same. The desk, the dream, the monk, and the story being painted softly with breath. His quill is poised. But he does not write, he waits. There is something sacred in the pause before a stroke, a stillness that knows its own rhythm. Even the candle flickers slowly, as if honoring the silence too. He looks to the margins of the page, where the gold leaf curls into ivy tendrils, where rabbits peek from behind illuminated vine, where a tiny boat drifts across a painted river smaller than the width of a fingernail. He didn't draw the boat, but it's there now, moving ever so slowly, carrying something light, a single feather. He leans closer, not to change it, just to see it. And in that moment, the boat pauses, as if it knows it's being seen. Then it continues, its journey written in silence. This, too, is part of the story. The things he didn't intend. The dreams that arrived without asking. The gifts from the quiet. Outside the scriptorium, a breeze sighs through the courtyard. It smells of rosemary and woods and something else. Old parchment warmed by sun. It carries no message, just a memory. Perhaps your own. You may feel it now. That faint breath of air drifting past your brow, through your thoughts, rustling the pages of your inner self with kindness. Let it brush your temples. Let it smooth your worries. The wind carries no demands, only stillness. Aubrey breathes in and out and in, and you do too, breath by breath, line by line. The body still, the mind quiet, the heart listening. Like parchment, you become ready. Now, a faint sound rises in the distance, a bell, soft, measured, each tone spaced like a heartbeat, not ringing to summon but to soothe. Monasteries once used these bells not only to mark the hour, but to comfort, to remind all souls, waking or resting, that they were held in time. Let the bell ring gently in your imagination now. Duone, let it fade slowly, like mist melting into the hills, and with its fading, feel your limbs soften, your mind sink deeper, your thoughts spread like ink across vellum. Thin, slow, beautiful. You are not meant to understand everything. Not now, not in dreams. You are only meant to feel safe, quiet, held like a story in the margin, in the hush between bell chimes. A memory gently awakens in Brother Aubrey's heart, not loud, just a flicker, like a moth brushing parchment. It is a memory of when he first saw the scriptorium. He had been young, barely tall enough to peer over the edge of the desk. A senior monk had placed a quill in his hand and whispered, "The quill listens better than the tongue. Let your hand speak softly." And so it did. And so it does. The walls of the scriptorium had seemed so high then, the candles impossibly bright, the scent of the ink, iron gall, sharp and deep, like time itself. He remembers watching gold leaf being laid, bit by shimmering bit, onto tiny angels' wings. It had taken his breath away. He hadn't known you could paint light with your hands. That moment had stayed with him, not just in mind, but in the rhythm of his breath, in the curl of his letters, in the quiet way he listened to the world around him. It is there still, in every soft curve of every creature he places in a margin. Outside the scriptorium window, a nightbird sings once, not to wake anyone, only to be heard by the stars, a single, clear note that falls like a silver droplet into the stillness. Aubrey listens, then dips his quill. The ink moves across the page in a line shaped by the bird's call. A melody, without music. A story, without words. And now, dear one, perhaps you feel something small begin to shape inside you. A story not needing to be told, only held. A softness in your chest where the hush gathers. A golden wing, folded gently in thought. Let your eyes drift slowly closed. If they haven't already, let your body feel as though it's nestled in a library of dreams, curled beside the warm breath of candlelight. Let the stillness of that first ink stroke settle in your bones. You don't have to write anything now. You only have to be in one of Aubrey's margins, far down the page. He draws a door, small, wooden, barely noticeable. But if you look closely, you'll see it glows faintly. And beyond it, a garden, a secret garden, only entered when your mind is quiet enough to feel the grass grow. It is waiting for you. It has always been waiting. And tonight, perhaps, your dreams will find it. There is no rush, no gatekeeper, no key. Only breath, only sleep, only the scribe who watches quietly, quill in hand, smiling. The garden behind the margin door is not grand. It is not meant to impress. It is small and soft and full of rest. The paths are worn smooth by no one rushing. The trees hum quietly, not with wind, but with patience. Moss covers the stone benches as if they, too, are tired of being useful and wish only to sit and watch. Brother Aubrey walks its edge only in thought, only in dream. His sandals make no sound. His robes whisper, just slightly, like turning pages. He pauses beneath a plum tree. Its blossoms are like parchment petals, white tinged with the blush of ink. A bee drifts past, not in search of anything, just floating, just being, as you are. Now, farther in the garden, a small fountain trickles. The water isn't clear. It's not meant to be. It's the color of memory. Soft browns, pale gold, touches of gray. And yet, when you look, you see your own face reflected gently. Not how others see you, but how peace sees you. Quiet, enough whole. Brother Aubrey leans over the edge. He does not draw. He only watches his little flecks of gold leaf drift through the fountain's water, carried from pages long since turned. The gold doesn't sink. It floats, like sleep. There is a small creature in the garden, one you might miss, unless you're very quiet. A mouse, perhaps, or a hedgehog, or something dream-made. Fur that changes color with thought. Eyes, the shape of kindness. It doesn't speak. It doesn't need to. It curls up near your foot in size. You feel its warmth. It feels yours. That is enough. In the distance, bells chime again. Soft, far away. Each tone is a breath. And between them, nothingness. But a kind of nothingness that feels full, like the silence between heartbeats when you're rested. Brother Aubrey looks up as if hearing something distant, yet familiar. A page turning in a book, no longer written. A memory that doesn't belong to him. He closes his eyes and smiles. The dream is still painting itself, even now. And now, dear listener, you may begin to feel that dream, too. Not as something you watch, but as something you are inside of. You are a brushstroke, a flicker of candlelight, a hush in the margin. You are part of the scriptorium's dream. The garden blurs, not from forgetting, but from drifting. The way a thought softens just before sleep. The way a story folds its wings and tucks itself in your heart. You do not need to follow anymore. Just breathe. Just drift. Just be. The dream begins to carry itself now. No longer inked by Brother Aubrey's hand. No longer shaped by your waking thoughts, but floating freely. As all true dreams must do. It moves like mist through a cloister, like shadow passing beneath stained glass. You are no longer observing. You are within. You are a part of the margin's music now. The soft, near-silent hum of the candlelight world. Aubrey's eyes flutter open once more. The page before him is complete. Tiny creatures peer out. A fox wrapped in ivy. A bird with stars on its wings. A curled cat, dreaming of flight. He did not draw these, not consciously, but his hand moved just the same, guided by something deeper than intention. The vellum shimmers faintly. It's not magic, not exactly, but reverence, the kind that lingers on pages, prayed over in silence. He turns the page slowly, very slowly, not because he's finished, but because something new is arriving, and it must be welcomed gently. Outside the abbey, the moon hangs heavy. It casts silver over rooftops, over the well, over the sleeping herbs in the garden. Even the ravens are silent now. Even the wind has folded its wings. This moment, this stretch of breath between pages, was once called Lucerna Animi in certain monastic circles. The lamp of the soul, a moment of stillness, so complete, so free of wanting, that the spirit flickers quietly, gently illumined from within. This is that moment for you now. This stillness, this breath, this gentle hush. Let yourself become the vellum, warm beneath a resting hand, patient beneath slow, careful ink. Let yourself feel the gold leaf settle over you, not to decorate, but to honor, to remind you that your quiet is sacred. Brother Aubrey places his quill down. The ink in the well is almost dry, but he smiles. The scriptorium doesn't need more ink right now. It needs sleep. Even dreams must rest. A final candle burns low. Its flame curves inward, like a bowing monk, like a nod toward the night itself. You may imagine it flickering, just beside your mind's eye, casting soft shadows in the chapel of your thoughts. You may feel its warmth on your cheek, and then, ever so gently, you may feel it fade. Sleep is not the end of this story. It is its continuation. The part written with closed eyes and slow breaths, and a soft heart that listens without needing to understand. You are already there. There are no clocks in the scriptorium, only shadows and wax lines pooling beneath candles, and the gentle knowing of when a thing has come to rest. Brother Aubrey knows. This night is nearly done. The stars will soon fade behind morning mist, and the bells will rise again. But he lingers, still. Not to finish, but to savor. Outside, the fenlands are wrapped in fog. It clings to the reeds like an old song, hummed by the earth itself. Ducks sleep in the shallows, heads tucked beneath wings. The water is still, so still it reflects the chapel spire, as if drawn by hand. Some say water holds dreams. Some say that when it's very quiet, as it is now, the marsh listens. In the great hall, beyond the scriptorium, a single coal crackles in the hearth. No flames, just heat, just ember. Its glow pulses gently, like a heart that doesn't need to race anymore. Brother Aubrey walks past, his sandals soft on stone. He doesn't disturb the stillness. He walks with it, as if the silence is a friend who has been waiting all along. In a small alcove near the rear of the abbey, there's a shelf of books to warn to be read. The bindings have loosened, the pages have curled, but they are not discarded. They are kept, because in the medieval world, even old books, especially old books, were sacred. They were thought to remember, to feel. It's why some monks would kiss their books good night. And tonight, Aubrey does the same. He leans gently, touching the corner of one volume with the edge of his lips. A soft blessing, a silent thank you. Then he places a tiny slip of parchment inside the book's cover. A drawing of a creature not from scripture, not from nature, but from last night's dream. Something like a fox, but feathered, smiling. In this abbey, there is no line between waking and dreaming, no strict border between prayer and pain. Aubrey lives in the in-between, as you do now, as your thoughts wander the spaces between words, as your heart rests in the hush that follows the telling of a tale. The first hint of dawn brushes the high window glass. It does not rush in. It waits politely, like a visitor uncertain whether to knock, and the glass holds it gently, not letting it through just yet, giving the dark a few more moments to breathe, to finish its quiet song. Let your own dark have this time to let your body stay nestled in the hush of almost. Let your thoughts blur like ink and dew. You do not need to rise yet. You are still being written. You are still part of the margin stream. Brother Aubrey does not go straight to bed. He returns to the scriptorium, not to write, not to draw, but to listen. Sometimes, the room hums quietly long after the last quill has been set down. Not a sound you hear with ears, but something behind the breath, like the memory of music in a room that's just been sung through. He stands before his desk. The pages are stacked, ink bottles closed, quills cleaned and tucked into their soft leather roll. And yet, he feels the story isn't over. Not quite. Not for him. Not for you. Because some stories finish themselves after the telling, in the silence, in the stillness, in the spaces where dreams breathe. On the edge of one parchment, he notices something strange. A creature he did not recall painting. So small. Nestled in the curve of a vine, curled around a capital L. A tiny, winged deer, with silver hooves and one closed eye, sleeping. It is not part of the text, not part of the gospel he was copying. It is only part of the margin, part of the dream. In medieval manuscripts, these were called marginalia, little beasts, curious figures, oddities, sometimes humorous, sometimes strange. They weren't mistakes. They were freedom, freedom for the spirit to stretch between sacred lines, freedom for the hand to follow the heart, just a little. Even monks needed space to wonder. So Aubrey watches the winged deer, and as he does, he feels sleep tug gently at the edges of his mind, the way a soft hand might tug a heavy cloak from your shoulders. You do not resist. You simply let go. Outside, the fen begins to glow, Not with sunlight. Not yet. But with the thought of it, the idea that light is coming. A soft promise in the mist. A slow, unfolding breath. Aubrey turns toward the hallway. His steps are lighter now. His robes whisper like lullabies against the walls, and the stones beneath his feet seem to remember the footfalls of every dreamer who walked these halls before, all those centuries. And still, they walk with him, as you do now, as your thoughts drift beside his, weightless, and in his chamber. The straw mattress waits. The blanket is wool, slightly scratchy, but warm, familiar. He sits for a moment, hands in his lap, eyes half closed. The silence here is so deep, it feels like velvet. He could speak, but there is nothing left to say. Only to rest, only to be. As he lies down, the candle at his bedside flickers one last breath of light. And then, darkness, but not the kind you fear. The kind that holds you, the kind that covers your eyes like a gentle palm, saying, "Sleep now. You are safe. You are seen." Sleep arrives slowly in Ely Abbey. It does not rush in like storm or tide. It seeps in, like warmth, through wool, like candle smoke rising into timbered beams. Brother Aubrey closes his eyes, but the script does not stop. Now, the page continues within him, a scroll unrolling behind his closed lids, its letters glowing gently in dreamlight. Some monks of the Middle Ages believed dreams were messages, not from spirits, not always from God, but from the self, the part of you that lived too deep for daylight to touch, so they kept dream books, leather-bound and hidden, pages filled not with sermons, but with images, impossible ones, a bridge made of swan feathers, a cat who spoke in Latin, a tower that grew taller the longer you stared at it. Aubrey has no such book, but he does remember. And tonight, his dream is one of those impossible, quiet things. A room filled with books, all blank, until he breathes on them. And then word by word lines appear, glowing like starlight. He does not write. He only watches, each story blooming in silence, each page unfolding without effort. The winged deer is there, too, not on a page this time, but in the garden. Its hooves make no sound. Its wings are folded, but bright. It moves through the herbs, lavender, sage, rosemary, until it stands beside Aubrey, not speaking, only being. The way some things do not need language to be understood. You might imagine this garden too, now tucked between cloister walls, warmed by dreamlight, soft earth beneath bare feet. The kind of garden where the air smells of basil and thyme, where bees hum as if reciting poetry, and where you are allowed, for once, to simply rest, to lean back on soft moss, to close your eyes and listen to the breeze carry the scent of ancient pages. Time does not pass here. It lingers. It stretches itself thin like golden thread, and the more you relax into it, the more it holds you without question. Without need. Far off, a bell chimes, not loudly, not to wake, just enough to remind the world, you are still here, you are still dreaming. And just like that, Aubrey's dream dissolves like dew beneath morning sun. He stirs, not with urgency, but with gratitude, to have dreamt, to have wandered just a little deeper, to have met the winged deer again. He will not speak of it. Some dreams are not for telling. Some dreams are their own prayer. Morning light has not yet reached the sky, but it waits just beyond the windows. Soft, silver blue, pressing gently at the glass, like a cat asking to be let in. Brother Aubrey opens his eyes. He has not slept long, but he has slept well. There is a difference, and he feels it in the stillness of his hands, in the calm of his breath. A quiet has settled in him, not the silence of emptiness, but a fullness. He rises slowly, not hurried, not groggy, each movement deliberate, like a monk turning the page of a precious volume with reverence. He moves through the small stone chamber, washing with cold water, wrapping his robe, relighting the last candle to ease the dark just a little more. In the scriptorium, everything is where it should be. The ink has settled, the brushes have dried, and yet, on the desk, a fresh parchment, clean, untouched, placed with care. He does not remember laying it there, but it is there, as if invited, as if waiting. Beside it lies the quill, no ink bottle, no pigments, just a parchment and a pen. And yet Aubrey sits and lifts the quill and begins to write. The lines that flow do not come from thought. They are not preformed, not remembered. They arise as breath does, effortless, pure, gentle. Words without weight, sentences that stretch like light through mist. You may imagine them now. Let the margins bloom. Let the hush be holy. Let the quiet tell its story without needing to explain. He doesn't stop. He doesn't question. The quill moves as if guided by sleep itself. And now, dear one, you are there, beside him. Not as a figure in the dream, but as the dream itself. You are the warmth behind the ink, the soft sigh between each line, the gold that clings to the edge of each letter. You are what the scribe paints when he does not know he is painting. And maybe, in some small way, this dream has always been yours, not because it was written for you, but because it was written with you, because sleep has its own way of whispering our names into the margins of other people's stories. Aubrey places the quill down, the candle flickers, then the morning presses just a little brighter against the windows. Still no bells, still no rush. The page rests full before him, glowing faintly. A creature sleeps in the corner of the margin, tiny soft-furred, its paws curled beneath it, its breath barely rising. It has no name, but you know it. It is made of rest. It is made of you. Brother Aubrey closes the inkless journal, the fresh page now filled with what can only be called a whisper of a prayer. He does not reread it. He does not need to. Some words are not meant to be carried in the mind. Only in the quiet that follows. He stands and looks toward the high-arched window. The glass is frosted at the edges, gilded by the faintest thread of sunlight. Outside, the world is beginning to wake, but it does so gently. Even the abbey itself seems to rise slowly, stretching its stones one by one, like an old friend stirring from slumber. The bells have not rung yet. This moment is still yours. Aubrey walks down the narrow stone hallway that leads to the cloister. The walls are cool beneath his fingertips. The air still carries the scent of beeswax, ink, and last night's dreams. He passes a niche in the wall, a tiny shrine where a wooden statue rests. Not grand, not ornate, just a simple figure holding a scroll. He bows his head slightly and lets a breath out that seems to echo through time. In the cloister garden, the herbs are silver with dew. Lavender and sage glisten quietly. The winged deer from his dream is gone, but its presence lingers, not as a shape, but as a stillness, a calmness between moments. He places a hand on the sun-warmed stone bench beneath the old plum tree. It's early enough that no one else is here, and so he sits. And you, too, might sit with him. You don't need to speak. You don't need to move. Just imagine the earth beneath you, cool and solid, the air soft around your shoulders, a breeze barely stirring the long blades of grass, the kind of quiet that lets you hear your own heartbeat without effort, the kind of peace you don't have to earn. Somewhere near the garden wall, a small creature rustles through leaves, perhaps the mouse, perhaps something else. Its steps are soft, like punctuation in a story meant to be read slowly. Aubrey smiles faintly, his eyes closed. The dreams have not ended. They've only changed shape. Now, they ride the breath. They nest in the soul's corners. They sleep curled just beneath waking. The monks believed that silence was not the absence of sound, but the presence of something deeper. That stillness was a language, and now you understand it, too. because you have learned to listen to the pauses between words, to the hush that follows each soft sigh. You have become part of the margin. Let your mind float here as long as it needs to. Let your body be weightless beneath imagined morning light. Let the peace continue beyond this garden, beyond this hour, into your dreams still to come. The plum tree overhead rustles gently. Its blossoms are nearly gone. Just a few pale petals remain, clinging like soft thoughts on the edge of waking. One falls, drifts, lands near Aubrey's sandal. He doesn't open his eyes, but he smiles. Some things do not need to be seen to be known. In the Middle Ages, some believed that falling petals in a dream meant messages were being sent, not from the heavens, but from within, whispers from the soul, taking shape in symbol. A feather, a flame, a flower. You may imagine your own. Now, what symbol rests in your quietest place? What does your soul whisper when the world is still? Aubrey rises. The abbey's stone walls catch the light, gilded at the edges now, as if the dawn itself has begun to illuminate. The story's still sleeping in the mortar. He returns to the scriptorium, not to write, but to open the shutters. The window creaks, and the first golden shaft spills across the desk, falling perfectly upon the dream page he penned hours before. The light pauses upon the inkless ink, and strangely, it gleams, just for a moment, as though the page remembers being touched by a dream. And now, the margin creature stirs, a flick of a tail, a stretch of tiny wings. It does not leap from the page. It simply turns and closes its eyes again. The abbey begins to wake. Footsteps in distant halls, the faint clatter of pottery, a cough from the brother assigned to stoke the hall. But still, this part of the morning remains quiet, still sacred. Aubrey kneels briefly before his desk, not in ritual, but in gratitude. The work is not complete, but the piece is whole. You may breathe with him, one slow breath in, and one softer breath out. Let your mind rest in this hour between doing and dreaming, where the self needs nothing, where the heart is enough. He closes the dream book gently, wraps it in soft cloth, and places it on a shelf, between texts 100 years older. There it will sleep, not to be studied, but simply to be kept, because in this scriptorium, dreams are worthy of preservation. So are yours. And now, as sunlight pools, like paint across stone floors, and the candles sigh into smoke, the hush lifts just slightly, like the closing line of a whispered poem. The abbey bell finally tolls, not loudly, not sharply, but with a round, mellow voice, as if the bell itself had just woken from sleep. Its note drifts through the halls like warm broth in a cold hand. It does not rouse, it comforts. Aubrey closes his eyes and lets the sound wash over him, not as command, but as blessing. Outside the scriptorium, a small procession of monks moves through the cloister walk. Their feet are quiet, their hands folded. They pass the garden where the winged deer once stood. Some glance toward it, some don't, but every heart feels something soft there, even if they cannot name it. Aubrey lingers behind, not to avoid prayer, but to carry it differently. Some prayers are not spoken aloud. Some prayers are drawn in margins and left unspoken so the silence can answer. He places his palm on the wooden beam above his desk. This beam, older than any brother still living, once held the weight of a storm-heavy roof. Now, it holds memories, hands that passed over it, eyes that looked up from ink pots and whispered, "This is good." The wood remembers. So does the room. So does the page. Aubrey lets out a breath, one that carries no worry, no task, no need. Only release, only return. And so he leaves the scriptorium. For now, in a distant wing of the abbey, there is a long, curved corridor. Its windows catch the eastern light at just the right angle to scatter golden beams across the floor like ribbons. Dust floats there, undisturbed. No one walks that hallway this early, except sometimes you. Perhaps now, your feet find those stones, bare, unhurried. Each step echoes softly, as if walking inside a memory or a dream that belongs to no one and everyone. You follow the light, not to chase it, but to walk beside it. You are not seeking, you are simply being. And the hallway welcomes you, the way choir welcomes thought, the way vellum welcomes ink. Aubrey, too, knows this place. He often walks here after writing, not to clear his mind, but to let it drift. Some monks pace to think, others to listen. Aubrey walks to let go. And now, perhaps you do too. With each imagined footstep, something else softens inside you. A worry, a question, a need. Set it down. Let it stay in the hall. The dust dances in the light. Each speck its own moment. Each ray a reminder that stillness is movement of the most beautiful kind. And that light doesn't always have to dazzle. Sometimes it just needs to rest along the floor and say nothing. The long hallway bends gently at the end. Aubrey steps slow, not from weariness, but from reverence. He passes an archway. Beyond it, a small alcove, bathed in light. Inside stands an old lectern, empty, bare. Its wood is polished by the touch of many hands. Its surface smooth as water over riverstone. He pauses there, just briefly, not to read, but to listen. The monks used to say that even empty remember the sound of scripture, the way a violin remembers song long after the strings have gone quiet. And now, perhaps your thoughts settle into that same memory. Not sharp, not loud, but soft, lingering, like incense clinging to wool, like breath caught in morning frost. He lays a hand on the old wood, just a touch, just enough. Then he continues on. The hallway opens to another cloister, smaller than the last, less trimmed, more wild. Here, ivy spills over old stone. Birds nest in the ledges, and the wind carries a quiet tune through narrow columns, the kind of tune you do not recognize, but feel. Nonetheless, you walk with him now, not as a figure behind, but beside. No footsteps, no weight, only presence. You and the scribe both listening to the same invisible melody. The earth breathing, the garden dreaming. Aubrey steps into the grass. His sandals brush against wild thyme, releasing a scent so subtle, so grounding. It feels like a lullaby beneath the skin. He kneels, placing both hands on the soil, not in prayer, but in kinship. The monks of old often spoke of being humulus, from the Latin root for earth. To be humble was to be grounded, rooted, low to the soil, yet part of the divine. You are part of that, too. Here, in this soft space, you feel the earth support you, without question. No proving, no striving, just stillness, just breath, just being. Above, clouds gather slowly, not with storm, but with softness, pale gray and blue, the color of wool and rainwater. They move so slowly, you almost forget they're moving at all. The monks believed clouds were the cloaks of angels, each one draped over the shoulders of sky-bound messengers. And now, perhaps one covers you, too, tucking you in, veiling you from worry, wrapping you gently into the fold of heaven's breath. The breeze shifts, carrying the scent of parchment and plum blossom, carrying the lull that trails every dream. As it dissolves into the quiet, the ivy-wrapped wall before Brother Aubrey is chipped and worn. A story told in weather and time. Tiny cracks weave through stone like ancient lines of forgotten script. He reaches out, tracing one with a finger, not to repair it, but to feel its age, to honor the long sleep of everything built to last. He sits on a low stone ledge. The air carries no chill now, only stillness. A bird hops nearby, not startled, not afraid. It pecks gently at the grass, then looks at Aubrey as if to ask nothing at all. And that, somehow, is comforting. You may sit there too, on the opposite ledge, or just beside him, wherever your breath feels most free. Let the silence settle around you, not empty, but full of the presence that follows every story. The monks called it reliquum silenium, the sacred remainder of stillness that lingers long after the chanting stops. Aubrey's hands are still stained faintly with pigment, blue at the fingertips, gold along his wrist. They shimmer slightly in the morning sun, he notices, but does not rub them clean, because here traces are treasured, marks are memories, evidence that something beautiful has been made. You to carry traces of kindness given, of peace sought, of dreams tended gently in the dark. You are not blank. You are alone. A small breeze rustles the nearby herbs. The scent of lemon balm rises. It mingles with thyme and the faint wax smoke trailing from a scriptorium lamp, all of it blending into a fragrance that smells like rest, like the end of a long, long letter, signed only with love. There are bees in the garden now. Not many, just a few. Lazy with morning air, they move from flower to flower with no rush, no fear. Their hum is low, melodic, like the soft vibration of breath at the edge of sleep. You may hum too, if you like, just beneath your breath. A sound no one hears but you, a thread of presence woven into the world. Brother Aubrey rises, not quickly, not slowly, just as the moment invites. He brushes off his robe, leaving one petal to cling there, a small flag of softness. Then he turns back toward the abbey, toward the bells, the books, the quills, still wait, but not hurried. Never hurried. You walk behind him, or perhaps you stay. Either way, you remain part of the hush, part of the margin's light, part of this dream that never ends. Back inside the abbey, Brother Aubrey steps softly. The morning light has settled fully now, but it does not blaze. It filters in gently, like a whispered good morning from a friend you've known your whole life. The candles have gone out on their own, their smoke curled upward and disappeared like closing thoughts. In the refectory, a few monks eat in silence. Bread, cheese, warm milk. Their faces are peaceful, their eyes soft. Not a word is spoken, and yet everything is shared. Aubrey sits at the end of the long wooden table. A bowl is placed before him. He nods once in thanks. No voice needed. He breaks the bread, dips it slowly, chews with a calm that suggests he's still somewhere between dream and waking. And maybe, so are you. You may imagine your own warm bowl now. Whatever brings you comfort. A sip of something familiar, a bite of something soft, even if it's just a memory of being cared for. Even if it's only the feeling of being still. After the meal, the monks depart slowly, leaving the room even quieter than before. The wooden spoons rest beside half-emptied bowls. A breeze sneaks in through the slightly open shutters, lifting the corner of a cloth. The abbey breathes. Brother Aubrey does not go to the scriptorium right away. Instead, he walks the inner perimeter a loop, around the heart of the abbey. There, he stops at each small shrine, not to kneel, not to pray, only to pause, to acknowledge, to offer the silence of presence rather than the noise of speech. And perhaps you walk beside him, step for step, through arches that cast long shadows on the ground. The air is cooler here. Stone holds the night longer than wood. And yet, nothing feels cold. Only quiet. Only whole. In one niche, a painted tile shows a lion sleeping beneath a tree. Aubrey touches it with 2 fingers. There's a saying, scribbled centuries ago in the back of a monk's journal. The soul that sleeps like the lion shall wake like the lamb. You don't have to understand it. Just let it settle inside you. Let it hum quietly as your thoughts drift deeper. Outside the abbey walls, a field of barley sways in the wind, each stalk moving just slightly differently from the next. A wave, a breath, a lullaby written in golden air. You are part of that field now. Part of the breath, part of the story. Aubrey's robe trails behind him as he returns once more to the scriptorium. The desk is there, The page still glows faintly. The creature in the margin sleeps on. And you, too, are still here. Still dreaming, still glowing. Brother Aubrey enters the scriptorium, and the light greets him gently, as if it too has learned the rhythm of slow arrival. Dust dances near the window, a kind of holy snow, not cold, but weightless. He does not sit. Not yet. He stands in stillness for a long moment, long enough to hear everything that is not said. The monks believed that silence held presence, that each pause was inhabited by what had been and what might yet come. You can feel it now, can't you? The stillness filled with shape and story. Not empty, but whole. Aubrey moves to the desk. The inkless page is no longer needed. The dream has been written, but beside it, a fresh vellum sheet awaits. He picks up the quill, dips it into a new well of ink, deep blue, like the sky before dawn. He begins, slowly. In the margins of silence, light blooms. And in the hush between words, a creature sleeps. And then another line. To write a dream is not to capture it, but to let it rest somewhere soft. He does not rush. He does not plan. Each word arrives like a breath. Each sentence folds into the next like pages turned by wind. He places a single pressed flower between the last two pages, a plum blossom found this morning in the cloister garden. Then closes the book. You, too, may close your eyes now. You've followed every step, turned every page, listened to every hush. You've walked the stone halls, sat in the gardens, watched the ink flow from sleep to story. And now the scribe's dream becomes yours. Is silence your shelter? Its page is your pillow. Let go. Let the last candle fade. Let the margin creature curl itself once more. Let your breath drift like feather on vellum. You are safe. You are home. You are written in gold and quiet. The end. Have a good night.